Hello students, it's your history teacher with another online lecture. Today with the topic Magyarization. It is the last topic of this unit, so just the very last one before the small test. Magyarization was a process of blending of all of the nationalities that were in the Hungarian part of the monarchy, so in Transylvania. Mostly this was done by establishing, for example, Hungarian language as the only official language in that particular part of the monarchy. Čiže voláme to proces maďarizácie, a teda pomaďarčovanie obyvateľstva aj iných národností, ktoré žili v tejto časti monarchii. Čiže znovu si môžeme povedať, kto tam tak patrí. Boli to Slováci, Chorváti, Srbi, čiže aj tieto slovanské národy boli považované za iba súčasť uhorského národa. Basically, we can say Magyarization is the process of creation of one Hungarian nation from all different nationalities that live in that particular part. Hungarian kingdom was established in the 10th century, but the strongest Magyarization took place in the 19th century, so 900 years after that. We also call this century the century of the Magyarization. However, many Slovak nobles had lost their Slovak identity even sooner during the 18th century. This was mostly done because these nobles wanted to have better position, so they changed their behavior. We can say they choose it voluntarily to be Magyarized because Hungarian nobles were high class and they wanted to be equal to them. At the beginning of the Magyarization, the churches resisted the growing tension from the Hungarians, but after the Austro-Hungarian compromise, the situation was inconvenient for Slovaks, and this was in every sphere of public life. I also mentioned that on the last lesson when I've talked about Austro-Hungarian compromise and the era of dualism that started in 1867. This second half of the 19th century was the period of the strongest Magyarization. The Hungarian Prime Minister Koloman Tisza even claimed that Slovak nation did not exist. This statement was very typical for the Magyarization because they only wanted to have one Hungarian nation and they didn't recognize other nations living in the monarchy in the area that they controlled, the Transylvania, či to Zalitausko. So this name is important. Koloman Tisza, who was prime minister and he was representative of the Magyarization. The FEMKE, F-E-M-K-E, or Upper Hungarian Magyar Educational Society, was another institution of Magyarization. It was an organization whose main purpose was to spread the Magyar culture and language in the Slovak territory. So not in the Hungarian territory, but in our territory. FEMKE is abbreviation of the Hungarian name of the institution, and it was very similar to our, for example, Slovak Learned Society, but they had different purposes. Slovak Learned Society, that was established by Anton Bernolák, had its purpose in spreading the Slovak culture among Slovaks for them to be proud of their culture, okay? Also to spread codified language because we haven't had one before. But this FEMKE, they wanted to influence the Slovak people so they would slowly blend into the Hungarian nation. One of the most terrible forms of the Magyarization was sending of the Slovak orphans to the downland, alebo teda Dolná zem, territory inhabited by ethnic Hungarians, and it's the very south of today's Hungary. So it's like the border between Hungary and Romania. But this was still not the peak. The peak came with Apony law. Albert Apony was the Minister of Education and Culture. He made laws that forced the children who attended elementary school to write, read, and count in Magyar, so Hungarian language, for the first 4 years of their education. Everybody knows that these first years of education are very crucial and important. So this means that what you learn during the very first 4 years of your education, you will remember that, we can say, forever, okay? How to write, how to read, how to count, maybe some really basic information. All of this is because during that time, your brain is the best at acquiring new skills. So for example, languages. When children of the elementary school are learning in some foreign language and they are forced to speak with just that language, there's very high chance that they will become just fluent very fast. This is because they are very adaptable. So this means that this step was meant to erase Slovak culture slowly. So these children, after some time, would not even understand Slovak language, but would know to read and write just in Hungarian. This measure was in fact counterproductive. The Slovak teachers' attempt to teach them Hungarian did not cause only the children not know Hungarian, but many of them remained illiterate, so they didn't know how to write, read and count at all. So very counterproductive for the Hungarian government and also for these children because they were not well educated. The real impact of the Magyarization could not be recognized. The percentage of the population with Hungarian as a mother tongue increased from 37% in 1837 to 48% in 1910. Mostly the middle class, Jews, Germans, Slovaks and Ruthenians were assimilated to the Hungarian nation. However, the real number of the assimilated persons is unknown because of emigration. A lot of people emigrated in the end of the 19th century just because of the Magyarization. They didn't want their children to study just in Hungarian language. They couldn't find job and so on. This is why they mostly immigrated to, for example, United States of America. We can say that in numbers, approximately 1.5 million Hungarians, so Romanians, Slovak and Serbs that were among them, left the country. And as I mentioned, it was mostly to the United States, but also to Russia and France. Now I will just mention some information about Slovak politics during the Magyarization. So as I mentioned on the last lesson, there was Old School who was based on the memorandum of the Slovak nation, and so Martin became the center of politics and culture of the Slovak nation. Also the Slovak newspapers were published. Slovak National Party trying to defend the interest of the Slovak nation. They used the national newspapers to talk to the public. So even through the Magyarization, they remained active. However, there was really one infamous event that happened in the very beginning of the 20th century. And this is Chernova massacre or Chernova tragedy. This event happened on the 27th of October 1907. And to describe that event, we need to look at the causes firstly. Chernova was a little village near Ružomberok that was a home village of Andrej Hlinka, who was a Slovak priest and politician. He initiated building of the Catholic Church in Chernova, which in 1907 was ready for consecration, but at that time Hlinka was suspended because of his political activities during these hard times of Magyarization, but Bishop Alexander Parvy gave an order to consecrate the church to another priest. People disagreed with that because they wanted Andrej Hlinka, their priest, who they knew, to consecrate their church. You know, he was the initiator of that building. They disagreed. 400 locals were waiting for a priest who was about to consecrate the church, and also for his entourage, which consisted of 15 gendarmes. So this was like a guard with policemen to protect peaceful process of the consecration. The Slovaks, the locals of the village Chernova, took this as an act of aggression to bring policemen to their village, that they halted the consecration of the church by Andrej Hlinka. So they started to throw stones, and these gendarmes were ordered to fire. So consecration of the church changed into a tragedy. 15 people were killed and 12 seriously wounded. However, this tragedy had also positive consequences. This story about people killed because of the demonstration of their right at the consecration of that church in Chernova. This story was published in important newspapers abroad. For example, even in the New York Times in America, but also in, for example, famous The Times in London and many others. This story, because of its emotional background, attracted foreign attention to the Hungarian attitude to the minority. The most important defenders who upheld the Slovaks against the Hungarians abroad were Björnstjerne Björnsson, this was a Norwegian writer and a Nobel Prize laureate, and Robert William Seton Watson. He was a Scottish political activist and historian known as Scotus Viator. Seton Watson from the beginning was very pro-Hungarian before he came to the Eastern Europe. So he was like defending the idea of the Hungarian nation. He was interested in the background and the history of Eastern Europe and the Habsburgian monarchy. So he came to study this matter, to write some books about it maybe, and he slowly started to realize that it's not like he thought it was. You know, he started to see it from the different perspective that actually there are other nations that exist in the Austro-Hungary. So as a smart, wise man, he changed his opinion and was even more passionate about defending the other side. So the Slavic nations that were suppressed in the Austro-Hungary during the Magyarization. Okay, this is it. As every time, I will do quick revision for you. So the strongest Magyarization started after Austro-Hungarian Compromise during the era of dualism, so after 1867 until the end of the monarchy in 1918. The Magyarization was led by Hungarian Prime Minister Koloman Tisza, who even claimed that the Slovak nation did not exist. The FEMKE, F-E-M-K-E, Upper Hungarian Magyar Education Society, was an organization whose main purpose was to spread the Hungarian culture and language in the Slovak territory, so they wanted the other nations living in the Transylvania, so the Hungarian part, to blend into one Hungarian nation. One of the most terrible forms of the Magyarization was sending of the Slovak orphans to the downland, so the territory inhabited by ethnic Hungarians, because for example in Budapest there were many international people living, so they were sending them to really the center of the ethnic Hungarians as native Hungarian. Even though the peak of the Magyarization were Apony laws, because Albert Apony was the Minister of Education and the Culture, and by these laws he forced the children who attended elementary school to write, read and count in Hungarian language for the first 4 years of the elementary education. This was meant to, again, change them into like native Hungarians. But in the end, it only made them illiterate, so it was very counterproductive. Because of this Magyarization, a lot of people emigrated mostly to the United States, Russia and France. Approximately it was 1.5 million Hungarians, so people living in Transylvania mostly consisted of Romanians, Slovaks, Serbs, who were among them. And the very last important thing is the Černova massacre or Černova tragedy happened on 27th October 1907. I want you to remember this date. Very quick summarization. So Andrei Hlinka from Černova initiated building of the church in that village. He wanted to consecrate it, but during that time, during 1907, he was suspended because of his political activity. So Bishop Alexander Parvy gave an order to consecrate the church by another priest. People disagreed with that, made a demonstration against the priest with his entourage, so the other people who made him a guard. Among them there were 15 policemen, like gendarmes, to sú žandári. After Slovaks started to throw stones, these policemen were ordered to fire. They killed 15 people and seriously wounded 12 others. This tragedy had also positive consequence when the foreign newspapers wrote about this tragedy, and the world started to see that the monarchy is in fact strongly suppressing the minorities that are living within it. The most important defenders who uphold the Slovak against the Hungarians were Björnstjerne Björnsson and Robert William Seton Watson. So at least to remember Björnsson and Seton Watson. Okay, you do not need to remember whole names. This is how our story got to the New York Times. That's it. The last topic before the test. I will also offer you the possibility to have consultation with me before the test, so to make revision. It's up to you. I will put all of the instructions about the test to Google Classroom, so don't worry. You will have lots of time. And I'm here for you if you need some further information about any topic in this unit. Okay, so keep calm, stay healthy, and bye.